Hello, welcome to another installment of a secret video. I'm going to be reading the top 5 books on my TBR. No, this is not an original idea. There are several people who have done this. I will link some below. But let's just say I am very nervous, to say the least. I just went through the tiring process of putting all of the books on my TBR onto their own shelf of physical TBR on Goodreads. And I tried my best not to look, but some of the books that I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up having to read, I am not excited at all to read these books. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We'll see what happens. I'm not 100% sure what they'll even end up being, so let's just see together, shall we? So before I even get started, let me just explain. The reason I am so scared is because I have my closet where I have stored some books that I don't really care about, and they are books that I know are very, very, very popular. So here's how it goes. If I pull all 5 books from the closet, I'm not doing it. I'm putting a limit, and I'm only reading at least 2 from that closet if they come from there. The rest is actually going to be from my TBR. That is the rule I'm putting on here now, because if I had to read all those books, I'm pretty sure I'd be in the biggest slump of my life, be miserable, and hate everything. I could be wrong, but that's my feeling that I have. So, let's take a look and see. I believe I figured it out. I hope this is right. I don't know why I am so Goodreads challenged. Me and Goodreads have not been friends today. So, let's see. I'm pretty sure if you click sort by average rating, it will put the top book. Okay. Interesting. Not what I thought it was going to be. So, very first book is Where the Crawdads Sing. I had a feeling it was going to be, and it is in my closet. It wasn't on my closet, if you recall. I just had it on a TBR for September. Is that what it was? August? August's TBR, and it was the only book that I did not finish because I had no desire to finish it. So I guess we're giving it another freaking shot. I want to love this book. I want to like this book. But me and this book are struggling. I don't know if it's for me. But Where the Crawdads Sing is book number 1. Next step is something I am extremely excited about. It is Scythe. And then we have Far From the Tree by Robin Benway, and I have had this book on my TBR forever, and I was really excited about it when I first got it. Now I've just kind of, it's like, meh, like, I don't know, sure, great, whatever, but I'm like, not that excited anymore, but not a bad book. And Me Before You makes me nervous because I hear most people don't like it, which is interesting that it's in the top 5. But I also hear, I think it's a love or hate type book. And then we have Every Last Word, which is very strange to me. It barely beat out The Fault in Our Stars, which I'm thankful for because I have zero desire to read that book right now, or ever maybe. But I don't even know what this book is. I honestly don't. So apparently it's good. I hope. This is my stack. Which, I mean, is it not the prettiest thing that you've ever seen? How in the world do they all color coordinate? I don't know. But, so let's talk about these a little bit. Again, number 1 is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delilah Owens. All I know about this book is that it involves, it's like, what year is it? This is the thing. I don't do well with like historical most of the time. But so if it's like later than maybe the 80s, I have zero interest in it. And this is 1969 in North Carolina, and it involves, all I know is it's like a boy goes missing, and this girl that they call the Marsh Girl, who they think is weird / creepy or whatever, they instantly blame her, and I think you come to find out more about her character. I know everybody freaking loves this book, but everyone also says that it takes a while to get into, and that's how it was. I read the first 10 pages and I was like, I have zero interest. I don't want to read this book at all. This is not for me. So we'll see. I would say I'd get an audiobook because that's how I power through it. But like I think I said before in a video, the audiobook for this, since it was Reese's book club pick a couple months back, is literally like over 6 months long. So I have to read this book. I guess I could get it somewhere maybe, but I don't want to pay money to listen to it. I really don't. Next up, I'm pretty fetchin' excited. And that is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is one, it's really funny how this worked out because I ended up picking one from like each of these sections. You know, so this is the section of the books of that book outlet order that is kind of books outside my comfort zone, books I'm really, really excited about. And Scythe was it. I actually really like dystopian. I didn't know. So why I've never read this book was because I thought this was like a fantasy, which I mean it is, but like super fantasy. I thought this cover, I still think this cover is hideous. I had zero interest in it. But then someone on BookTube said, like, I actually listened to what it was about, and I knew it was like a kind of like dystopian, futuristic. Anyways, it's about the world in the future where we as a human race have discovered, like, we don't die anymore. We've discovered how to live forever, I guess. For population control, a job becomes for some people to become scythes, and they like have to kill people. And I know that it's about this person's training to become a scythe and all that stuff, and I love that sort of thing. So I'm actually real excited about this one. Was Far from the Tree by Robin Benway. And this book is the one about, how many kids is it? 3 kids, and that, I know, I've forgotten what this book is about. I know it's like with the foster care system, and I think maybe they've been separated and what it takes for them to come back together. I've heard it's very emotional, very good. This was the one that came off of my Lala shelf, so that's great. Like I said, I don't know how I got lucky enough to pick. I picked one from the closet, 2 from this, my just TBR shelf, 1 from this, and 1 from this. The only one missing was my book of the month shelf, which, sorry to go off on a tangent in the middle here, but that's just my MO here. But I was really surprised. I thought for sure that some of my book of the month books were going to be books that were like the most popular, but maybe just because they're newer, they haven't been read as much and haven't been rated as much. But that really surprised me that none of them were on there. But yeah, so that's the next one. I'll see if I can get an audiobook for this one. The next is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, and I don't want to screw up what I say. This was like one of the first things I got when I started really getting into BookTube and all of that, and it was kind of like I just knew lots of people were reading it, and I grabbed it, and then I at the time kind of knew. Let's see. It's about Louisa, who's an ordinary girl. She needs a job, and so she ends up working for ex-master of the universe, Will, who is in a wheelchair. I remember that. And then they like fall in love, right? Something like that. We'll see if the audiobook is available for this. It's always hit or miss with my audiobooks. It's so weird. Books that I would think that wouldn't be available are, and things that I'm like, oh, that will be available right now. It has like a 6-month wait. So again, we'll see. I'm going to try to do as much audiobook as I can for these. And lastly, like I said, the biggest surprise is Every Last Word by Tamara Irene Stone. Editing me. This book is actually not in the top 5, and you will see why and what and all of that in just a minute, but I'm going to cut me talking about this book because, oh look, there's all my laundry that needs to be done, because I didn't read it and I read something else. You'll see in a minute, but okay. This is like a lot of reading that I'm gonna have to do. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get audiobooks or stuff because I will still be doing my regular reading. I originally was just gonna do 3, but I wanted to push myself and do 5. We'll see what happens. This might take me a while to get through, but keep watching, of course. Bye. Gonna catch my house on fire.
Lion! This lion did it and the lion is dead. Elephants! The elephants are sitting. It's the end. Zebra! The seabirds and the ghost did another judges. Considered every bird has the end. Snake.
Okay, so it's been like 2 months, I think, probably, since I filmed the beginning of this video. I have no idea what I said, what I planned. I probably said I was gonna vlog the experience, but I never did. I am learning that I am not good at all at like vlogging things, which that's what I want to do. So I need to figure that out. But I have now read all the books. There is a twist. So I believe in the beginning where I like showed my actual top 5, what even was the book? I don't even remember, because like the next day or so I realized I missed a book. Why do I even have these turned around like it's a secret? Surprise twist, I missed one book when I was putting in all of my books into Goodreads, and when I put it in, it was like number 3 or something. And that was A Man Called Ove. So I ended up switching whatever the book was and putting in A Man Called Ove. I have finished doing the reading. Just finished, and I need to get these done because it's the whatever 6th or something of November, and I need to put up my wrap up for the month. So yay, finally I have finished. I listened to all of these on audiobook except for one. So let's just like get into this stuff, shall we? I'll just start with what I did first. The very first book that I read was Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. And I was hesitant to ever read this book because I had just heard so many people saying, which is weird. It was like number 1, I think, on the list, but it was like I had never heard anyone really talk about that they liked it. And I don't know why, because I loved this book. I really did. I liked this book a lot. I would give this, spoiler, I think I'm going back to the rating system if I haven't talked about it yet, which I probably haven't. So anyways, yes, I would give this a 4. It wasn't like my new favorite book of all time, but it was really, really good. It was really, really sweet, and I just really liked the relationship between them. I can't remember, Louisa and Will. I mean, it was just good. It was a good time. I really liked it a lot. And basically, if you don't know what this book is about, it is about a man His name is Will. It's set in England, and he is in a accident and he becomes a paraplegic, I believe. I don't want to get that wrong. I believe he becomes a paraplegic, but he is paralyzed basically, like from the neck up. He has a little bit use of his hands, and so he needs someone to, he has a nurse, but he needs someone to like basically keep him company. And I don't know, this book, it's been so long, so I don't know what spoilers, I don't want to talk about anything in case someone hasn't read it, but there's some things that are secret, but not really. You kind of know. Let me look at the back. Okay, so it doesn't say. But he has some ideas and some thoughts, and his mom hires her to, on the premise that she is a, like, kind of like a caregiver. She doesn't have to do any, like, medical stuff, helping use the bathroom or anything like that, but just kind of, like, make his food and feed him and keep him company. But he's just like super bitter, super angry, doesn't like anybody, doesn't want anybody's help. He's mean, he's nasty. But they just like go on this crazy ride of an adventure. The ending definitely wasn't what I thought it was gonna be, but it was just real good. It makes you think about things. It's sweet. It's, I don't know, it was just really good. I would definitely recommend this if you haven't read it yet, if you're like me. Next, I listened to Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. This was just fine. It was a 3, just young adult, and the situation I really liked. I liked the premise of the book, the things that it did, but I just was kind of not as invested. I feel like that's the thing too, is maybe I just feel more relatable, or I feel more connected. I relate more to older characters than I do to younger characters. But I mean, this story was really good. I think it did something kind of new that I haven't really read from. It's about these 3, Grace, Maya, and Joaquin. They are these 3 teenagers. 2 have been adopted. 1 is in like a foster care system, and when we get to the story, he's in a foster care family that really likes him and he's in a good situation. But they find out that they have brothers and sisters, and then they meet up and just kind of have the things that they are going through and how they deal with it together. And it's just a really good character story. If you are into that, you will really like it. It has plot, so that's why it still was not really bad for me. I enjoyed it more. The ending, of course, that's the thing, I've like, endings just always get me. I would just give this one a 3. It's just average for me. I know tons of people love this and tons of people will love this. Right now, I was so excited about this book when I got it, but now, like I said, I've just read so many YA hard-hitting contemporary books that they don't do a lot for me anymore, but this was really good and I would recommend it. So now another thought, and this is not a new or original thought before I get into any more, is it's like some of these books where I look at, say, the lowest rated books on Goodreads, is it's not necessarily like, it could be a way better book, like written wise and everything, than some of these higher rated, but it's like they get so hyped up that it becomes so many people, like I can't even remember. I looked at one point and like hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, so we'll skip. I'm not going to do anything, but like Where the Crawdads Sing is so popular right now. Literally hundreds of thousands of reviews are on Goodreads for this book, compared to even like a 3-star book has maybe a couple thousand. And so therefore, even if 10,000 people gave it a 1 star, if 100,000 gave it a 1 star, it's still going to be higher rated than some of these. So that's why the books and ratings are just so interesting, and like, because I know lots of people have a lot of frustrations with, say, the Goodreads like awards. They're happening right now, and it's like the books that are on there are just the ones that are super hyped up, and they're the ones that win, even though maybe they're not the best written books or the best. There's some that could be better, but just not very many people have read them or reviewed them and talked about them. So anyways, that's why it's saying some of these people will be like their favorite book of all time, and I thought it wasn't that great. Like A Man Called Ove. I say A Man Called Ove because that's how they say it in the audiobook. People call it Ove, Ova, Uve. They pronounce it Uve. No, what do they say? Uva. Uva is how they say it in the audiobook. I have to think about it in my mind because they say it so many times. It's Uva. It's A Man Called Uva. Is how they pronounce it in the audiobook. And so this is my first Frederick Bachman, and I don't know if it's like the covers or what, but I just have always wanted to read everything that he ever writes, and I think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like that so much, and I don't know why, because I didn't like this, like, at all. I was just like, it was the most boring audiobook. And again, maybe if I read the book, it would have been a little bit different, but it was so boring. And I know, like I said, I think this was number 1 or number 2 once I put it in to my note. Like, is it like number 1 and number 2 rated on my Goodreads list of all of my books? And I know that this is probably one of his most popular books. Again, so I know tons of people have read it, and I know lots of people did it for book clubs, and anyways, okay, I'm all over the place. The word of mouth bestseller that has caused a sensation across Europe, Frederick Bachman's irresistible novel about the angry old man next door is an uplifting exploration of the unreliability of first impressions and a gentle reminder that life is sweeter when it is shared with other people. But I can't remember what's in. Anyways, but there's just like, I don't know if it's been I don't think it's been translated. I don't think that, but I don't know. And this is why I have a hard time, and I think people probably don't love my opinions, and that's fine, but I just have a really hard time. Like, everyone talks about, you need to read diverse books and things outside of your perspective and things, and I totally agree, but I will do that, but I probably am not going to give it a very high rating just because I can't relate to it, and that's something I really need in my reading, is like relatability. And so I understand that that's a flaw, and it's something that I'm trying to work on and still like try to read diverse books. And so, but yeah, I just had a really hard time with this. It was boring, and a lot of stuff I didn't understand, and again, the voice actors kind of had an accent, but not very strong. I could still understand it, but then it took me a long time because I couldn't read it at like 2 times speed, because then I really couldn't understand it with the accent, so I had to like slow it down so I could do other things. And yeah, anyways, this book is about a man called Ove, who his wife has died. I don't know if it says that, but I mean, in the beginning of it, it's like he's talking to his wife, but you can tell. I hope if that's a spoiler, sorry, but I mean, he like his wife has just recently died, and so now he's like home alone, and these new neighbors moved in, and the wife is very like, I literally say Uve like 10,000 times, and I tell you it's Uva is how they pronounce it in the audiobook, but I probably say Uve and Uva and whatever like everybody else, but whatever. Wants to befriend Uwe, and Uwe doesn't want any friends, and it's basically just Uwe in his life being really upset and angry at everybody. And I don't know if this was Frederick's like purpose or the point, or if he wrote the character this way, but Uwe seems to me like maybe it's because it's my experience, but he seems autistic. I don't think he is. I'm not saying that, but he has very like OCD tendencies. He has no social awareness. He doesn't understand. Yeah, he's just he doesn't care. He tells it how it is. He struggles in social situations. He is very, like I said, OCD. Little things are like so much of the story. Like we see it again and again and again and again. And I'm just like, come on, like I'm sick of hearing about this. There are some things in here that are really thought-provoking and sad and I enjoyed and things like that, but yeah, this is just not for me. It was way too character driven, not enough plot. I needed more, I wanted more, I was bored, and that's just the facts. And then next, I honestly didn't think I was going to read this one. I was just gonna not read it and tell you guys that I was only gonna read 4 because I just had no desire to read this book. And I knew the audiobook was like over 6 months at the library, and so I decided to just renew my script and listen to it. And now I'm deep in my script, and that's the decision I made. But I actually ended up really liking this book. And that's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delilah Owens. And this book took me a while to get into it. Again, that's why when I was reading it, I was just like, there's no way that I'm gonna get down with this writing. Because me and historical fiction are not that great. It's dry and uninteresting to me. But oh my goodness, this was just so sweet and so sad and just so perfect. I would not give this a 5. It wasn't like my new favorite book again, but it's definitely a 4. And I just really enjoyed it. This is about a girl. Her name is Kaya. Yeah, it's Kaya. She is starts off in the story as, I believe it's a dual timeline. I believe it goes back and forth. Yeah. When she's older and when she's younger, but it goes through her life as a young girl living in the marsh in Louisiana, North Carolina. And she is in a very difficult situation with her family. She has like 6 brothers and sisters, and in the very beginning of the book, like the first couple pages, her mom just like leaves. And so she's left with her dad and all her brothers and sisters, and her brothers and sisters slowly just start leaving because their dad is an abusive alcoholic and he's not around much, and so they kind of all leave and she's there by herself, and eventually her dad leaves. And so then it's her from the time she's like 12-ish, I can't remember ages and things like that exactly, but around like 10 to 12 or so is when her dad leaves, and then she just has to fend for herself. And so she gets this nickname of the Marsh Girl, and everybody kind of tells her like that they're afraid of her, and you know, she kind of becomes this like Loch Ness monster type of thing, you know, where she sometimes has to go into town and everybody, you know, makes fun of her and doesn't want to be around her. At one point social services come and take her until she has to go to school. She goes to school for 1 day and is made fun of by everybody, and so she never goes back. And it's her constantly like hiding from adults who know that she's there on her own. And then her growing up and being in love with the marsh, and there's a boy who comes and like teaches her how to read. And so then she ends up you know, collecting different insects and things from like, I don't know, even just like talking about it, it's like I just want to go on and on, but I probably shouldn't say any more. But it's her story of, oh, and then something happens there. Let me see, I think it says in the flap. No, it doesn't say. So there's something that happens and she gets blamed for it. And this book is so many things. This book is a courtroom drama. This book is a romance. This book is a character narrative. It's a hard-hitting, it's funny, it's literally everything. I really, really liked this book. And it's now at the same time, like, well, maybe it's a 5, but I just don't think I can really give it a 5 just because it's like I have a hard time remembering most of it. I just remember like pieces that were just so good. But I mean, it's just amazing. If you haven't, if you're one of the few that has not read this yet, I would suggest it. And if you have a hard time getting into it, listen to the audiobook. The audiobook was really, really great. That's what I have to say about that. And yeah, highly, 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 highly recommend. And then lastly, the book I finally finished, the only one I read, and I finished it last night. So technically I didn't read this in November. It won't be in my wrap up then. But that is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This again is probably a 4. And I can't really explain why. I was so excited about this book. I was so scared of it. I had no interest in it. Then I was so excited when I like really found out what it was. And so I just wanted to gobble it up. But it was just so not a 5. And could have been a 5. Like I said, I just don't even know how to explain it. Let me tell you what it is and then go into my feelings. So it's about a world where we have cured death. There is no longer any illness. There is no disease, cancers, nothing. And you can still die. They call it being deadish. People will do it for fun, call it splatting, where they jump from, buildings and you die. But anytime you die, you just are taken to a revival center and they bring you back to life. And in your body you have these things called like nanites, and anytime you have like a small pain, they like flood to the area to heal it, or they release like endorphins to help with pain. Yeah, so basically to help with population control and things like that, they have these people called Scythes. They're just regular humans. They don't have like any powers or anything, but you can become a Scythe and you call what is called gleaning, and they get to choose however they decide to choose to glean. They have like a set number they have to do a year, and then they go to these like concords where they all get together and talk about different things. And it's just like, I don't know, there's no presidents or anything like political. They have what's called the Thunderhead, and they're kind of over it. It says it started out as the Cloud in our time, and then it became the Thunderhead, and it kind of watches everything, but they don't have any control over Scythes. That's just, yeah. Anyways, and so then this is about 2 characters who become a Scythe's apprentice, and neither one of them really want the job, and they have to compete with each other to become a Scythe. And yeah, so that's what it is. And it's a wild ride. Like, this is a great book. It's a great book. I really enjoyed everything. I was entertained the whole time, but there was just like something weird where there was not really a connection with the characters, and I don't know. It was just like, there's a romance in here, and that was weird. Like, it was so insta-lovey, but it wasn't even like they expressed that they like liked each other. It was like, I didn't think they liked each other at all, and then all of a sudden they like kissed. And they were like, yeah, you should have known, like, we've loved each other the entire, and I'm like, what? Huh? I don't understand. There was just a couple things that were just weird and disjointed, and a little bit stuff that was unnecessary. I didn't like, they have at like the end of each chapter these little things that they're like journal entries from Scythes, and because a Scythe, they have 10 commandments they have to do, and one of them is that they have to keep a journal and write in it every single day. And so they put in a couple different Scythes like journal entries, and that I don't feel like added anything to the story. It's just like them talking. I mean, I could get it, but I don't feel like it was that necessary. It didn't add anything to it. Yeah. But I I definitely will be continuing on because, of course, the ending was awesome. The ending of this was so great. It was not at all, it, to me, seemed very predictable. Not predictable that I'm like, okay, I know what's gonna happen, but like when it happened, I'm like, okay, yeah, obviously that's what's gonna happen. Like that's the next step. So maybe not predictable, but very obvious. But still very entertaining. I really liked everything. I'm happy with how one thing happened because I was very upset about it the entire book, and at the end when I found out that it was something different, I was very happy about that. Yeah. 4 stars. So we have a 4-star, a 4-star, a 2-star, a 3-star, and a 4-star. So like I think we can say that my top 5 highest rated books on my Goodreads, for me, probably deserved it. I didn't get any 5 stars, probably didn't get any new favorite books of all time, but I got some like real good ones that basically probably could become some of my top 5. I don't know what my life is. I don't understand how things are. That's another video that I probably need to go into and talk about like my brain and like what are my favorite books of all time, because it's a weird space up in there. I don't even know myself. Anyways, as always, maybe this wasn't your jam and a little lackluster and not what we originally planned, but if you liked it, make sure and subscribe, everybody. I don't ever say that, but please subscribe. I am a tiny, 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 minuscule channel around here in BookTube, and I have been around for a long time, and I think it would be really great to have some more friends. But if not, that's okay. I won't stop making videos because I think this is really fun. Why did I go on this rant? I'll probably cut it out now, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!